Hello, everybody. How are you? I don't know why it's showing half and half, but I don't know. Well, welcome to Michelle's Inspirational Hour. I am so glad that you are here. And let me know in the comments if you're hiding back there and just say hello. I created the show so that we can help people be insightful, spiritual, and find the awesomeness in life. So, again, my name is Michelle Henderson. If you have not met me, and I am a spiritual advisor, I am an intuitive psychic medium, and an author and a speaker. So, let me know if you are here in the comments. And I have a wonderful show today. I have a wonderful guest that's going to make it even more exciting. Instead of just listening to me all the time, I think we need to get somebody out here so that we can learn from them as well, because there's so many people with inspirational stories that are making such a big difference. And this lady is definitely one of them. So I hope that you stay tuned to listen to the whole show and be inspired. All right, so let me introduce her. I know y'all are going, oh, who is she? All right, so her name is Edmondson, and she is a highly intuitive mom to a highly intuitive 12-year-old son. So I wonder if this is, inherited, right? It does run in families. And of course, like we say, everybody has it. She has appeared on the A&E Psychic Kids show in 2019 and on Inside Edition in January 2022, along with her son. She is the founder and creator of an information website, highlyintuitivekids.com. And I'm going to give you that information towards the end as well. And Highly Intuitive Kids parent groups on Facebook. So it is a private Facebook page. She is a former senior business executive who is is now, can't read my own handwriting, is now a medium, spirit artist, writer, intuitive coach, and an advocate for highly intuitive kids. You can also find her on her webpage at Edmonson.com. I am so sorry, I'm just terrible with names, where you can see her mediumship work. All right, let's bring you on, my dear. Let me get you on here with me and say hello. Hello. Good to see you, Ellen.
Hello. It's great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for saying yes to coming on.
Well, of course.
And, I am so excited because, there are so many parents out there with intuitive children that are hiding in their homes. They're not seeking help. And so I am so glad to have you so that you can kind of help them along the way.
Yes, and that's true. And before, we were one of those sets of parents who were hiding, with our son. And when he came out, started having his abilities, and we were starting to understand what was happening with him, we didn't know where to go or where to turn. Even though I'm highly intuitive as well, I didn't fully understand my gifts, which I think a lot of people, it does run their families, like you said. But because people don't talk about it, they sometimes don't understand, that a parent or a grandparent or somebody else has it. And that's where the child is also picking it up from. And if you don't understand it as a parent, it's hard to help your child. So for us, we were fortunate enough that we ended up getting some help through landing on, like you mentioned, the Psychic Kids show, after we were trying to figure out. And that was kind of, I always say there's no coincidences.
Oh, absolutely.
Not at all. It was kind of I always say, like a divine intervention that happened when we were trying to figure out how to help Ethan, because he had gotten bullied at school. And a lot of it was because of his abilities were opening up. He had changed schools at that time. But with his abilities opening, he was going to school and talking about things that kids his age couldn't understand. And so they were looking at him as strange and as weird, and started teasing and bullying him. And he's an empath as well. He's a strong empath. And so he picks up the emotions and feelings of others and the energy around him. So sometimes, he didn't know why he was feeling or sometimes acting in the way that he was. But we ended up on the Psychic Kids show, and they helped us to make an assessment of his abilities, and then, kind of gave us some starting helping points from there. And that was a big help once we understood what was going on with him. And then it kind of set us on a path of doing more for me after that experience. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, we knew from the show there were 15 other families around the country who were experiencing this, but I was like, this is everywhere. This is everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what amazes me with your son, Ethan, is whenever I watched him on the A&E Psychic Kids show, you could tell he did not have the confidence, that he didn't know what to do. I know that the peers at school kind of made him doubt his abilities. And it seemed like he just did not have the self-confidence. Then you watch him on Inside Edition after the show, his show has already aired and everything. And he looks like a whole different child. He is embracing it. He is just enjoying life. I mean, you can tell his vibration is so different. And I'm thinking, to myself, I wonder, I know it's difficult to be bullied and go through that experience. Do you think that spirit kind of put them in that situation to make him stronger so that he can kind of plant the seeds for other kids?
I would say absolutely, absolutely, because I think everything happens for a reason and unfolds, in a way that is supposed to. We don't always know why we go through what we go through, but there's always a reason for it. And that's the way we're very believe that. That's rooted in our faith that there's a reason for everything. Like I'd say a divine reason for everything happening. So with him being, that happening to him, we did end up moving him to another school because the school environment is so important. These kids need to be supported. They need to feel supported and feel comfortable in order to, thrive and not shut down from their abilities. So us landing on the show and then him getting on Inside Edition, once we finished Psychic Kids, you're right, his confidence did go up because we knew what we were working with then. And he felt like, okay, I'm not strange. I'm not weird. This is an ability. This is a gift, a talent that I have that now I understand and we can work with it. And part of it, if I can go into as a parent, I knew his abilities were opening and mine were opening at the same time. So I didn't fully understand it in a child. So I had to kind of go on my own personal journey of taking, researching and taking classes and trying to understand what was happening with me and then being able to help Ethan. But he, after we were on the show, and it was funny because he came to me one day and I was talking to him about, you have to love yourself and you have to appreciate your abilities. But we were also telling him, but don't talk about it outside of home because other people, but he took that. Kids are so authentic. And he was taking that. He just wanted to talk about what was important to him. But if he talked about it, other people wouldn't understand it. And we were trying to protect him. But in our desire to protect him, we didn't realize we were making him feel like something was wrong with him.
Right.
And that was, we didn't realize that. And he was saying, I feel like he felt like something was wrong with him. But he told me one day, he said to me, Mom, when I was giving him my mom talk, and he's like, Mom, I can't be me until you be you. Stop hiding.
So he is teaching you. Now, how did you know that what was he doing to show his abilities? I mean, how did you first had that moment, that something was happening to him. So what happened or occurred that you're going, I think he's a little intuitive?
Well, it started when he was, I would say, around 2 years old. I mean, even younger than that, we were sensing something, but we didn't understand what was happening because we would take him to events or places and he'd always start crying. So we didn't understand why he was so sensitive to things. But when he was around 2 years old and he started talking, one day, my mother actually had passed away when Ethan was 3.5 months old, right after he was born. So that was kind of that sent me on a journey of trying to understand, in growing up in church, they talk about eternal life. I wanted to understand what that meant. So I started reading every kind of book about the afterlife that I could read to try and understand. But my gifts started opening at that point because of that event and having Ethan. But when he was 2, he started talking. He came one night, he was going to run up the stairs to go to bed. And he never wanted to do that before. And my husband and I said to him, well, why are you why are you going upstairs? Why are you running upstairs to go to bed? He said, because grandma comes to play ball with me at night.
Oh, wow.
We're like, okay. And then we had two other instances that weren't too far apart. It was about a year and a half later. My husband's father passed away. And he came to us and he started telling us how he was afraid that's when he started not being able to sleep in his room and having problems at night of sleeping, because he came to us and started saying, Grandpa's in the room with me. And so we looked and we're like, okay.
Right.
We're not expecting this from a child. And then one other quick one that I wanted to share that was amazing, because all of it was kind of within that year and a half's time frame. The other incident was this was after he talked about my mom. Anytime if there was a fire truck or a police car, anything going by the house, he would wake up, and at nighttime, if he heard something, he'd wake up in a panic. And we were asking him, it's like, well, what's going on? And one night he finally opened up to me and shared. He said, well, now he's 2 years old. He said, he's like, I was running and I ran into a building and there were ambulances and fire trucks. And he said, I ran into the building because these bad men were chasing me. The building was on fire. And he said, when I ran in there, he said, my body died, but I didn't. He said, I went to the nowhere place. You and Dad were there, but you weren't you and Dad. You were other people. And he said he waited in the nowhere place until we got back together now. And he told us, he said, you and Dad took a long time to get together. I was waiting to come back to be your child. I was waiting for you to come back. He said, but you took a long time to get together and meet each other, which is true, because my husband and I got married older, and we were, 39 and 40 when we got married. And so we were like sitting there, like totally floored. He was talking about past life, and we're like, okay.
So at that point, whenever he was starting to talk and everything, you just didn't know what to do? Or, I mean, what did you do at that point?
We listened, and we didn't make a big deal of it, but we listened, and sometimes we'd go back and question, but we didn't want to lead him into anything. But we were just looking like, wow, as my gifts were opening, I understood what past life was, but because of research I had done, I hadn't had those experiences. But he was talking about things. I'm like, okay. I was like, I don't know what you do. We just listen.
Right.
And we were trying to figure out, so what do you do? Do we talk to somebody about? You can't take them to the doctor. You can't, where do you go? What do you do? I was like, so we just listen. But his abilities kept opening more and more and more. And that's when we were telling him, it's okay to talk about that here at home, but we don't talk about it outside the house because people won't understand. And that's when he started picking up and feeling like something was wrong. And we realized when he said what he said, it was like, we have to change our messaging. And more than that, it was like, after he gave me my little wake up call about, I can't be me until you be you. I said, I can't do this. I have to, the universe through my son is telling me I have to model the right parenting for him. I have to model it. So I have to embrace and own and be authentic and true to myself in order for him to know what that looks like and for him to embrace his intuitive abilities.
What a beautiful gift that he gave you. I mean, that's awesome that they teach us. And that's one thing that I'm always asked, what do parents need to do once they start seeing it? And the number one thing I say is have that conversation and don't be afraid of it. And it sounds like y'all handled it perfectly.
Yeah, we listened. We just did a lot of listening and saying, okay, and just trying to understand. And that's all we could do because we didn't know what else to do until it got to the situation that we had to actually try and figure out where do we go for something like this. And then that opportunity for the show came up for us to get some help.
So what did the show do for you? I mean, what's the number one thing that you took away from it? And you're going, oh, I am so grateful that happened.
I think that the number one thing for us was that they were actually his mentor, Ryan, who was on the show, and the cast and worked with us, and they talked to Ethan, spent time with him, but they were able to verify for us the different abilities that he had, because we didn't understand. It was still new for us and for me to understand all the different abilities that he had. And then because the show showed some things, they didn't show everything.
Right.
But then the biggest thing for us is when they took the children, they took them on their experience where they went to a location and actually had them use their abilities. What people saw on the show with Ethan was pure, authentic, the very first time he had ever gone somewhere and picked up information and gave it. That was just a true experience that he had on the show. And after that, I was surprised. My husband was surprised when he was talking about certain things about the people being in a fire and the number of years and all. I was just like, oh my gosh. So when we walked away from the show, we said, okay, now it's truly verified. Yes. Now we understand all the different types of abilities he has. And now we have to figure out, going from here, how we really continue to work with this.
And this is a psychic medium as well, that we need validation consistently. Mm-hmm. So I know, and Ethan's probably going, but I told you, I told you it was true. But I think, I think that is totally awesome. And that you were able to also tune into your gift. So what have you done as a psychic medium to strengthen your talent as well?
Well, for me, as a lot of research, and that's what led to the project that we launched, was doing a lot of research and taking classes and finding mentors and getting with different places, that had mediums, other psychic mediums, to help to, work with me, to get training for it, to understand what this ability was. Because in the beginning, when this first happened, and my gifts were unfolding, they were kind of revealed to me, like in a matter of 9 days. I went from doing like automatic writing to automatic typing to, just all these different things. And then I started doing art later, like a few months later. But my husband, I went to him and I was like, I think I'm going cuckoo berries. Is what I was like, I don't know what's happening, but these things are happening. I'm experiencing these things. And he's like, no, I don't think that's what's going on. Because for him, we both grew up in a religion, but his mother also explored, she was energy healing. So he was a little bit familiar with this. And he told me, he's like, no, I don't think you're crazy. So we need to take you to see someone. And he looked up a class on intuitive development. And we went there. And when I talked to the reverend, it was a woman, and she, such a blessing. She talked to me, we looked at everything. She's like, sweetie, she said, you're not cuckoo berries. She said, you have a gift. And you have a gift you need to share with the world.
Absolutely. And, and I just love to hear the story, because your whole family, sounds like, how families go to church together. You're strengthening your spiritualism together, and just lots of healing going on. And I think that is an important point for all families with intuitive children, is to actually do these exercises together, because I think it does bond the child with the parents, and because the parents are going to be around for a long time.
Yes. Yes.
So tell us about your project, of what you're doing now and what you feel like you're being led to.
Okay. For this project, actually, and like you said, doing things together, this was, I'd have to say it was like last year, after actually being on the show. The one thing that we're strong in faith, and we always believe, how we were tested and trying to figure all this out and helping Ethan and, learning how we had to work with him differently than just parenting an intuitive child is different than parenting a child who isn't intuitive, just because their sense, they're constantly getting information, and like he can know things that we're like, how does he know that? It's just working with him differently. So what we did is, when we said, let's take what we experienced, that we felt alone and that we didn't know where to go and we didn't know what to do and we didn't know how do you handle this. After we were on the show, we said, we want to pay it forward. And we've always had heart of service. And so we said, let's take what we were tested with and turn it into like our testimony and our project of how can we now serve and help others to not go through, because we know there's a lot of kids and we're very passionate about kids. And Ethan is passionate about helping other children like him too, and make this a family project. And so last year, I started just getting all these inspirations and ideas about like, now's the time to do this, because this had been on my heart ever since we had done the show, and then Inside Edition just in January. And I had the idea last year and started just moving out on these inspirations I was getting on. Let's put together a website and a Facebook community that's going to support children everywhere, but be a resource, not just for parents, because this is for the parents and kids, but also offer information that'll help educators and other professionals that make up a child support network, like mental health professionals or family advocates or whoever it may be. There's information on this website for all of them, it's enough to get people to start looking at it and say, it's something more, it's something to be looked at. It's something to be considered, because sometimes high intuition can actually be thought to be something else or diagnosed as something else in kids. Right. And so we put a lot of information, there's information out on the website about that, with links to articles from like Mayo Clinic and different places that are credible and reputable that people can start looking at. But also we wanted this to be information that parents can have, because the more knowledge, the more information you have in your hands, the more you can help not only your family, but you can help those around you to understand. And they'll have information that can help go to the schools, talk to your teachers and your counselors, talk to other individuals, talk to other, let them know that this is real. There's actual information out there, even, in different magazines that people have written. Your book, Michelle, which is wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Wonderful resource.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And so we pulled together, I went on a massive researching. We pulled books together. We pulled online articles together, put different documents out there. So it's a place that people can go. It's a start to educate themselves about it. And also we have a section on helpful techniques. So like there's videos about yoga and tapping and meditation and breathing exercises and all these things that kids need to have, and people in general, just adults too, just to help self-regulate and help the kids not be on intuitive overload, or help manage that intuitive overload better.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's wonderful. And I have been on the website, and I think it is great, because you know how some parents, they go, I need tools of the trade. Mm-hmm. And when they see certain things on your website, they're going to go, oh yeah, I could have been doing that. It kind of sparks, like you said. I'm going to say hello to Kimberly. Hello. Good to see you. I love that picture of you. It's almost like she's going, hello.
Hi, Kimberly.
So thank you for joining us, Kimberly. So are you, I know that you also have a Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And so kind of tell us what's your mission of having the Facebook page for parents.
Okay, well, for the Facebook page, it's the website and the Facebook page will, support each other, go hand in hand. But for parents getting into the Facebook page, we just have launched this project. It's been getting close to a month now. So things are growing and getting up and going. And so we want parents to come in. The website and this group is going to be like an information hub, so that parents can get information. But they can also come together and we're going to have information sessions. Like we're going to have a Q&A with Michelle on Saturday.
I'm excited.
We're excited too for you to share your expertise and knowledge with the families and the parents that are going to be there. But we're going to have parent meetups. We're going to look at how we can, have families connect with each other, to have conversations. And we're not experts, but we're parents helping parents. That's the purpose of the whole Facebook group. Because we've all gone through things, and people can share, I've used this technique for my child can't sleep at night. I've done this and it worked for my child. And this another person, I've done that. So we're going to come together and start sharing information, sharing just support for each other. And the community is going to have a mentoring feature to it also, where families can connect with each other and support each other. And we want to make sure families and children are having a chance to meet each other, to once again know they're not alone, connect with each
Absolutely.
other.
Yes. And I
And
was about to say that too. I think that's awesome, so that they feel like they are not alone and they have someone that's going through the same experiences they are going through.
yeah. It's so important because you feel isolated when you
Mhm.
don't know anyone else, and you do feel alone. And now that we have the means of having all this online connection, it's such a great tool to bring people together, that way. And people understand too, we're going to be sharing a lot of personal stories also on the blog, in the group. We want people to share their stories, because the more we share the stories, the more we actually can normalize this more, because it's more common than what people think. Everybody is intuitive, every single person. You just have some people that are highly intuitive, that have heightened senses, like a turbocharge, a supercharge intuition. And there's nothing weird or wrong or bad about it. It just is. And people have to start talking about it. We need to get out of hiding and making something wrong with it, to talking about it and embracing it. Because the more we talk about it and the parents and the adults embrace it and start to really understand it, the more we can help the future generation stay connected to their abilities. And I always think, like, it would be amazing. They stay connected and grounded in their abilities. Think of the innovative inspirations and ideas and the intuitiveness that they bring through, and they're going to help their generation even sooner than those of us who maybe were in hiding and
You're
afraid to
right.
speak up
Right.
and talk about things and the information we could have brought through to help others sooner. So we're going to help ground this. The goal is to help to ground this generation of highly intuitive kids sooner, and make this understood, help the word out so that it can be understood, and they can, just flourish in a whole different way without getting disconnected and then becoming an adult, trying to figure it back out, because it doesn't go away. Kids
Yep.
can shut down, but it will never, your abilities don't go away. They will eventually resurface
Right.
at some other point, and you're going to have to deal with it then. So it's better to understand it and take control of it. Kids, help them to understand it from a young age, than disconnecting, not living authentically, and having to reconnect at some later point.
Wow. That is a wonderful message. I am putting it on just to let the people who are just listening. The website is www.highlyintuitivekids.com. And I also have your website so that they can also see your work, Ellen. It is, oh, wait, I think I just hit it at www.ellenedmondson.com. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I think I'm just so excited to be able to connect with you. And just to let everybody know, we just found out we had so much in common.
Yes.
And like you said, there's no coincidences. I think we're supposed to meet for a reason. And I know that, especially with your work, I think you're going to help so many parents and these highly intuitive children. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And the same goes for you, Michelle, because that's why I think it's beautiful what you've done with your work. And we're looking forward to talking with you on Saturday. It's going to help
Oh,
so
absolutely.
many people. Now is the time. It's time for attention to be brought to this
Ab-
conversation to come up.
Absolutely. All right. So I guess on your website too, is there a place that they can email you in case somebody has a question?
Sure, you can email. It's highlyintuitivekids@gmail.com. And
Okay.
when you go to the website, it's listed on the bottom of the website. You can go into the connect section. The information is there as well. But we would love to hear from people, love to hear your stories, have you join our community. The more we can just keep talking about this, we're going to help to really bring the attention that it needs, and get people understanding this, raising that awareness to help these kids in a better
Absolutely.
way.
We can't tell that you're very inspired by it at all.
I have a little bit of passion for it.
That is awesome. Totally awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ellen.
Thank
And
you.
I will see you on Saturday.
Yay. I'm glad.
Yay. And I'll share the link as well, wherever you put the video so that others can see it as well.
Great. Thank you so much,
Well, it's going to be
Michelle.
on your website, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. dear Christy. I hope that resonates with you and you have a wonderful rest of the week. And stay cool. Everybody in Texas, please stay cool. I know my puppies are outside right now and they're probably going, when are we going to come back in? Okay. So I don't see anybody else that is here for a reading. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Christy. So let me know if you're still here and need a reading. But I was going to actually draw a card for everybody kind of that watches the show afterwards, kind of like a universal card reading. And I just feel like I just need to do one. Last week I did 3 cards, but this week I just feel like it needs to be one. And movement is what I'm really feeling. And I feel like right now the energy is just everybody is drained. And I don't know if it's the moon or the Mercury retrograde, whatever they say about it. But okay, so everybody come back to center, which means that, all your energy is out here. You need to ground yourself, come back to center and really take care of you, especially if you're feeling drained right now and just tired. Take care of yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in stream Ellen's website so that you can go there if you need that direction or you want to be an advocate for these highly sensitive children, because I really feel like what she said, it is time for us to really, bond together and make sure that these children are protected so that they can show who they truly are spiritually. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that with you. I will see you next week. I won't have a guest. It will just be me with an inspirational message. But the other next week, I will have a guest, and he is an absolutely, he's going to inspire you about speaking. Not only speaking out in public, but speaking your truth. And I think that will be a wonderful conversation. So that will be in 2 weeks. All right. So love and light, many blessings, and have a wonderful week.